Welcome to Homemaker Living. My name is Teresa and today I'm working on my raspberry plants. Last week before we headed out of town, I checked my raspberry row here to see if anything was popping up yet, pulled the mulch back, and I didn't see anything. And we just returned. We've been gone for about a week, and I went ahead this morning and started pulling some of that mulch back and saw some green popping up. So I thought, oh, I better get after that because my mulch is kind of heavy and I wanted to get that leaf layer from last year off. So I went ahead and got after it and thought, ooh, maybe I'll go ahead and take a moment and hop on here and show you what I'm doing. So this is the majority of the raspberries I have. I have 6 plants. 5 of them are this Kokanee. And the 6th one, I can't remember the variety. I have the name in the house, but it's this one that is a primo cane and a floral cane. So it won't have fruit on first year canes, the primo canes. It'll have fruit second year. And so all of these canes should fruit this year. And then when they're done fruiting, I can cut them down to the ground because other canes will have produced as well that will be there for next year's fruit. This one's a little bit woolly, so I think I might thin it out a little bit, but it's its first year for me for this one, so I'm gonna wait and see what it does before I start taking some canes out. So last year what I did was in the winter I went ahead and cut down all the canes that produced fruit last year in the fall, and I'm just waiting for the new canes to come up this year, and I will get fruit from them late summer, August, September, and into October until we get a frost, a killing frost. I could leave the canes up that had fruit on them, and then where the fruit was on the tips, tip them off, leave the canes, and then I would get apparently a light raspberry harvest in the early summer. And I would also get new shoots that will come up as well, and I will get fruit on those in the fall. Late summer, fall. But what I decided to do was go ahead and cut them all back to the ground and just go ahead and harvest for the late summer, fall, because I have another batch of raspberries that are in a raised bed that are a bush variety, thornless bush variety, and they produce fruit early summer. So then I can have raspberries from them and then early, and then I can have raspberries from these late. These were super prolific last year, so I'm really excited to see what they do this year. So let me show you down here what I've done today and what I'm gonna do on this last bush. So like I said earlier, when I pulled back some of this mulch and I saw some of the green tips coming through, I went ahead and pulled everything back. I took all of the dead leaves off the top. I left there for the winter for a little bit of insulation. Not sure if you need to do that, but I did it. And so I tried to pick all the leaves out of the mulch and then pull this all back. And as you can see, I have this black fabric paper here under the mulch. And as you can see right here, they grew right to the edge of this paper. And which, you know, is good because I don't necessarily want them growing outside of their raspberry zone, what I have laid out here. But if they're getting kind of close to this, I can increase this bed just a little bit. Let me show you. I have these T-posts, and I put 6 of them in here. So I have this long row. It's about 2.5 feet. And so I have them going down the center, original plants going down the center with a water irrigation line, and this black paper that is kind of like a big rectangle all the way around the bed. But I think what I'm going to do, since I do have a little bit of space, I'm going to go ahead and take all the staples out of here and roll this paper back a little bit to increase the space more, as well as on the sides, and give some room for those that are coming up on the edge, a little bit more room. I pulled the mulch all the way back to see what I was working with, got down to almost, the very last one, and have a little bit more work to do there. Oh look, I have the tag from this one. Tulameen. This guy that I just finished. And there's the original one I planted. This guy came up last year as well as that one. This one kind of curled from underneath the paper. So I'll get all of that back. What I didn't know is what these plants will do this year as far as when the canes will come up. So here you can see new growth already coming out on the primal canes from last year. So now these will be considered floral canes. But what I uncovered when I took the mulch back, already some canes shooting up here at the base. I don't know if you can see that with my shadow. So some here, then there's one shooting up there, one coming out of the base there. I saw like 3 or 4 of them, so that was encouraging. So these will be this year's primal canes, and they'll produce fruit next year. I'll pull up some of these landscape staples and investigate what my best approach is for cutting this and pulling it back. I know it's not conventional to use a scissor to do it, but I didn't want to go back and get a hammer. But it works. Try to cut this and fold it in a way that the cut is under the paper because it sheds a lot. So I think maybe I could do right to here. And just fold it under. Take this whole thing, wrap it under. Of course, exposing more soil leaves me the room for more weeds, but I'll deal with that if I can have more raspberries. But you could always use more raspberries, right? Okay, I went through and I removed all the staples along all the fabric, and now I'll just continue to roll it under. Okay, I need a hammer. Kind of like sewing. Put this one right here, knit those two together. That's a sample of what I have to do around the rest of them. I'll get to it. So this is what it looks like now. I've got it rolled back under and stapled down all the way from the T-post. Probably what gave it an additional 4 inches or so. Kind of got the hang of it towards the end and went a little bit faster.
3 days later.
Picked up the fertilizer. I tried to find a balanced fertilizer like a 10-10-10, 12-12-12. I couldn't find any brand that had a balanced that was equal, except where I went that carries down to earth. They had a 4-4-4. So NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium are all equal. And I think that that's okay as long as I use something else to bump up the phosphorus. because that promotes good root development and flowering buds, which is where, you know, the berries come from. So I thought if I use a combination of these, I'll get total 7 in nitrogen, 19 in bone meal, which is the phosphorus, and then just 4 in potassium, which is okay. I'm also learned recently, which I didn't know before, if you have too high of potassium, it's harder for the plants to take up nutrients from the soil. So we'll not mess with that one and just bump up the phosphorus. So for this job, it's going to be easy. Just need a kneeling pad, and I brought out a watering can so I can get my little drink when I'm done. Brought out a couple of tools, one being this little forky guy that I can work it in the soil, and then this little teeny tiny one in case I need to get around any really delicate ones. Oh, let's see if I have a measuring device. I need to go back and get it. A couple of scoops and some scissors because this is not open. According to the application rate, it said to add 2 to 4 ounces per established plant and then feed once a month during the growing season. And it says it on both of them the same, so I'm going to go ahead and add 2 ounces to every established plant, and then of course there's a lot of sprouts coming up, so I'm just going to sprinkle it around everything. With my size of garden, I've decided I really need to buy the 20-pound or the 50-pound bag of amendments from Down to Earth, because this almost took a whole box, and it's more cost effective to buy in bulk. So that's what I'll do next time. So now I'm just going to lightly, like that one, just going to lightly work it in the soil, just rough it up a little bit. I don't want to disturb the roots very much, but I just want to kind of get it in there a little bit. I know it's kind of a silly tool to use, but it's a little bit more control than the big one. And I find the big one grabs onto the roots a little bit more. I went ahead and sprinkled it in the areas where I never planted because the roots go out, so obviously it could use the amendments everywhere. Way easier in the original planting hole where I planted the 6 raspberries. In the native soil, which is kind of compact with that sand, it was a little bit more challenging, so I just kind of scraped the surface a little bit. And I don't even know if you have to do that. I see people do it both ways. I just spread it on and put mulch on it and let nature take its course. I'm going to go ahead and not do that and scratch it in. But I'm going to go ahead and water these real quick. We're supposed to have some rain in the next couple of days, but I'm going to give them a drink. And then I will wait to cover them up back up with mulch until after I get some compost on here, which will be probably sometime next week. Our water is not turned on yet to the garden, so I'm just going to truck it in from the house. It's been about a week and we finally have some good weather. So we went and grabbed a yard of compost from our local nursery so that we can go ahead and get it on these raspberries and get this project wrapped up. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but how nice this compost looks. It's dark, it's rich, it's really fine, smells good, looks good. We're back out here today to go ahead and finish up this project. we've come up with the plan of how we're going to wrap the wire around these T-posts. Let me show you what that looks like. Here's the wire we're using, and then Doug has marked the T-post with this little white mark a foot apart, going all the way up the post, so that'll give us 4 wraps around all 6 T-posts. And then in those center 2 posts, he's going to wrap the wire similar to this wire we had from last year in the center, with rings on them going from here and then to those other 2 sections. And then that way we can run the wire not just on the outside but also on the inside of these, so that we have like a grid pattern. So when those raspberry canes pop up, we can guide them up through that grid pattern to help hold them up a little bit better. So let's let him get to it. We got out here last night before dark and finished wrapping that wire. I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. This grid system looks like it'll probably do the trick at keeping those canes upright and not leaning on each other. Might need to do a few modifications during the season to keep them standing up, but all in all, I think it's going to work out pretty good. Let's go ahead and take a look close up and see what it looks like. It's a little hard to pick up on camera because the wires just kind of disappear. But as you can see, we have these cross wires going T-post to T-post with these little washers in there twisted so that it would accept these lateral wires coming down through the middle. And as you can see with this raspberry bush, we tried to get them in each grid, and I think it represents what it will look like when the others grow up. Well, that project took several days to complete. I'm happy that it's done. We can check that one off the list and on to the next one. If you found this video helpful, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel as we continue on our gardening journey. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.